Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living here in beautiful downtown Ukiah, California. I'm so glad you're all here with us today. And whether you're in the room or on our Zoom, just know that with all my heart, with all my mind, and all the love in the universe, we welcome you here today. So glad that you decided to spend part of your day with us. And I know that somewhere in today, whether it's in the message or the music or the treatment, that you are going to receive exactly what you came here looking for. So sit back and relax and enjoy. And our opening treatment today will be by Harvey Baumoel. So Harvey, take your mask off.
I will do. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So let's close our eyes. And this treatment is for everyone here and everyone online and for myself. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. As we come into this day here in Ukiah and all around, we are dealing with COVID rising, we are dealing with climate change, we are dealing with fires, and many of us are dealing with smoke all around. So when I say, God grant me, when we say, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, we realize that we are not those things, even though they may be affecting us greatly. And that we have a peace within, that we can come to a peace within with regards to those situations. And the courage to change the things I can, to be safe, to make ourselves safe, to make ourselves and our families safe and our loved ones safe by masking and social distancing and whatever other means are going to be helpful, and to know the difference, the wisdom to know the difference, that we know what to do. And for ourselves and for our loved ones and our friends and our families, we ask for the serenity. We know we have the serenity and the peace when we have physical issues, when we have emotional issues, and people that we know do too. We have that peace to know what we cannot change, and the courage to be supportive, to be loving, to be helpful to those people around us, and to be gentle with ourselves. We have the strength and the courage to do that, and we have the wisdom to know what we can and what we cannot do as we go deeper into our own intuitional self and find that God space within. And for the whole world, in Afghanistan and all other places where there are problems and hunger and poverty and smoke and fires in the world, we send them, we have peace for them, and we have the courage to send them the love and the beauty and the strength that we know that they can have. And we know that we have the wisdom to send to them as well. And we are grateful for the strength that we have within ourselves to spread to ourselves and to spread to all of those around us, the strength, the peace, the wisdom, the love, the beauty. And we spread that all, and we are grateful for all the good things that we have in our lives: a roof, food, good friends, and good family. And we let this all be so, and so it is.
Thank you, Harvey. That was really beautiful. And so now we're going to have some music. And today our special music will be presented by Calvin Johnson. So Calvin, take it away. Yay!
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their lands and for mine. Here are my dreams, O God of all the nations, my dreams of peace as living takes its toll. May we all reach your heart that dwells within us, and may we know thy touch on all our souls. Then may we sing the songs of light that beckon, that light that heals, restores, and makes us whole. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine.
Oh, Calvin, thank you so much. That's so beautiful. So today we have one of our favorites, or at least one of mine, who's going to present the message for the day. So it's my honor to introduce to you the Reverend Lynn Fritz. I have known Lynn for, I'm not sure how long, a really long time. Pre-ministry for her, but I'm not so sure where exactly that started. What I do know, because when Lynn first came into ministry, she started serving in ministry in 2003, as one of the staff ministers at the Reading Center, but she recognized almost immediately that she had something else that was percolating up in her. And so in 2008, she became one of our very first focus ministries. And her focus, the best way I can say this, because I was there at the time watching that happen, was to create community projects that took the Science of Mind teaching in there, but to a larger community, and not necessarily saying, oh, and by the way, I'm teaching in the Science of Mind. She's done some amazing things that are outside of traditional what you can do in the box. One of the ones that I've only ever seen pictures, I've never managed to be there for one of these, but for years, maybe she's still doing it, she did the floating lanterns in the river that runs through Reading, and people would come and gather, and they'd set those little candle, and it's beautiful. It's just a really beautiful thing. But I know that she's also been really active in interfaith ministry, and she's served in all kinds of aspects within the Reading area that include, she's produced television shows, she's written for the newspaper, she's done radio broadcasts. So she's very into the media, which is why she knows stuff. And again, I'm not sure when this was, but at one point she did a video. She's a videographer, and she came to summer camp and videoed it. It's still, of all the teen camp videos, slide presentations, on and on and on that we've ever made, hers is my favorite. It's the most fun, and it's just amazing. So a lot of what she's doing right now is around leading culturally diverse workshops and events that help to provide a deeper sense of who we are spiritually. And I just think that's amazing. And I'm sure that if there's something I've left out that she needs for you to know, she'll let you know. But again, she's dear to me. Oh, one other thing. She also is a practicing licensed therapist. So any kind of problem you have, you talk to Lynn. So spiritually, mentally, whatever, just talk to Lynn. So today she's going to be speaking. Her topic for today is look only at what you want. And so here she is, the Reverend Lynn Fritz.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Lost you. Lost you. What do we have, Gail? Can you hear me okay? Okay, because I can't hear you. Long as you can hear me. If there's a problem, hold up your hand.
No, we're
there
good.
You are.
We're good.
I got
just
you.
muted us.
Okay. Thank you so much. You know what's unique about Ukiah for Lynn is you are also the community that held my license before I became ordained, that allowed me to be in ministry in community far beyond being a staff minister. So you will always hold a very unique spot in my heart and in my soul, in my ministry, in spirit. So thank you for that. And probably the main thing that I do today, amongst all the things that I do that speaks to me the most, is the interfaith work. So I want to take time for us as we come together, just if you can, if you're comfortable, just to sit back for a moment and close your eyes, and let's all together take a long, slow, deep breath in. And just relax as we exhale together. If you would like to stay in that quiet space, focus within, I invite you to do so. What we know about us as sacred human is that as we close our eyes, we access our limbic, our emotional system. And so as we contemplate, look only at what you want together today. There's a reading from the Science of Mind textbook on page 186 that I want to share with us. This is what the wisdom of Ernest Holmes brings to us today. Never look at that which you do not wish to experience. No matter what the false condition may be, it must be refuted. The proper kind of denial is based upon the recognition that, in reality, there is no limitation. For mind can as easily make a planet as an acorn. The infinite knows no difference between $1 million and a penny. It only knows that it is. It is the consciousness back of the word that forms the word. Consciousness means the inner embodiment of an idea through the recognition of truth. And here's the important part, and the direct relationship to the divine. Let me repeat that. Consciousness means the inner embodiment of an idea through the recognition of truth and the direct relationship to the divine. Hopefully the takeaway today from our time together, it doesn't mean that we don't see the reality of what's going on, but what the call is for us to use our energy. Notice it talks about this embodiment, to use that power we have as sacred human to connect all aspects of the self. So that's the physical self, the emotional self, the psychological self, all the things that we know as sacred human, soul, spirit, mind, body. Connect all those, all that energy to be present there. So whatever we're focusing on manifests in the world. I want us to think about consciousness. Did you know that science today has yet to define exactly what consciousness is? They search for it. They're looking desperately for it, trying to locate where it is in our brain, our body, but they have yet to determine where it's at, and yet to determine what it is about us that knows us. How is it I know that I am, and I'm different than anyone else, and we have that knowing that comes within us? As science searches for the mind, searches for consciousness, I think it's so interesting that Ernest Holmes called this the science of mind back there in 1920. All these multiple fields of science have avoided defining what the mind is because they're nervous that it would exclude something or erroneously include something. But one of the things I want us to remember today, we know that there is only one mind. We think of God as being what? One, right? God is one. God is ever present. God is in all that exists. We know that from our spiritual teachings. There's someone I wish that Dr. Holmes could meet, and that would be Dr. Dan Siegel from UCLA, who's a psychiatrist, neuroscientist, is one of the leading forerunners, pioneers in the field of neuroscience. He is one who has decided that it's important to find some sort of description for mind. So I want you to think about how he defines mind today. He says mind is the flow of energy and information. That energy In this example, that is Lynn. The energy that we know as Calvin or Gail or Candace or Harvey, Vicky, Jack, whoever, whatever individualized expression of spirit, that is the mind. So if Calvin and I are having a conversation, what Siegel teaches as he explores mind, he says that Calvin has a mind and Lynn has a mind, but when the two of us are in conversation, relating to each other, we create a third mind that is not inside of our bodies, but is between us. What's fascinating for us is that we know all that is God. All we know, that we do know, that mind is God. Isn't it interesting that science is beginning to scratch the surface of what mind means? It's interesting to note, too, that he says the brain is not just here in the skull. You know, science says, where's your brain? Oh, it's here in the skull, right? He says the brain is throughout our body because of the interconnected relationship it has with all the different areas of the body. All the systems of the body are interconnected. So it is one brain. And the mind is made up of more than simply the brain. The brain is the command center of the body, but it is the mind that activates the brain. Is that energy of life. But it also, one of the things when he was talking about that third mind that exists between two people when they're relating, even if they're not talking, they're relating. So us this morning here in this group, we've created an exceptional, unique mind with all of us present, because there's a mind that exists between all of us here in this group that is outside of our bodies. This is what Dr. Ernest Holmes was pointing to as well. I do think that's what the Christ one was pointing to when he said, when two or more of you are gathered, there I am also. I think he was pointing to spirit, and I think he was pointing to mind. It's fascinating because what we know as sacred human is we all have a relationship. When Harvey was praying, he talked about all the things that are happening in the world. And we are all part of those things, whether or not we are located where they're happening. We have relationship, we have connection with those things. And so it's important to realize as co-creators, the greatest influence we can have is our energetic field, that we've been given dominion over this physical body. We've been given relationship to show up in the world as an individualized expression of spirit. And so we can use this brain that is embodied within the physical being, but it also has a relationship outside of our body because it's in touch with that flow of energy. Kind of trippy to think about. It's a little different way that science is beginning to discover the sacredness of what it means to be human. Kind of interesting to think about, isn't it? See if you can visualize as you're thinking about this. If we had a special camera, we could capture the energy of the body, couldn't we? All the different colors. We call them auras sometimes. It's also fascinating that Siegel says the only way that we can obtain health and wellness is if we're fully integrated. So think of integration as it coming together and mixing, creating wholeness. Instead of have fractured pieces of us, we bring them together and they're integrated fully. Trauma fractures us. We have to do processes to reintroduce those pieces of ourselves that get fractured off, create that wholeness, to integrate. It is the same thing that we're pointing to when we say we're awakening humanity, magnificence, that we have the capacity within us, as us, to heal us. Can you see why I want Siegel to meet Ernest Holmes? Ernest Holmes pointed to conditions in the world. We could see what was in consciousness by what we were encountering in our direct experience, correct? And that's why we would look at cause instead of treating conditions. We look at what causation is for ourselves individually in our spiritual path. What Siegel and psychology is pointing to is the way we see what's in the unconscious mind is evidenced by our attitude and behaviors, which would be another synonym for conditions, right? See how they're aligning? So what's important for us to realize that when we see a condition, it's very easy to criticize self, to move into self-criticism. So I want you to think about how you feel if someone is to just criticize you for all your trying and attempts that you're working on. It doesn't feel very good, huh? It's not working. It's not right. Something's wrong. You're doing something wrong. Versus saying, how do we adjust so that we can be more effective? How do we reach the cause of the condition so that our focus of treatment, our focus of where we place our energy produces the condition we want? That's what Ernest Holmes was talking about when he said, look only at what you want. So part of the reason I'm bringing this up, because what I want us to recognize is how powerful we are. We are beyond, you might say, imagination for what we are called to do as sacred human. We are co-creators with God. And so it's very easy at times to forget that. And I've witnessed the growth of Ukiah Center for Spiritual Living. You've been part of my personal spiritual growth, supporting my ministry. When I think of the Center for Spiritual Living in Ukiah, the first thing I think about is when I pull up and I see the peace pole. I think of a welcoming community. I think of a community that had their minister as a president of the international organization. I think of a community that gives and reaches out to the larger community of Ukiah. You have been a beacon in your community. You have not just sat there, you've been active. And you host spiritual practices. Look at the stability you've had and the contribution you've had through the years. Meditation, music, outreach. I know you've had a number of remarkable guest speakers, as well as your practitioners and your minister. The challenge we have, though, is creating the change, isn't it? I want you to think about Rumi, one of my favorite poets. This is what he said. When you let go of who you are, you become who you might be. When you let go of who you are, you become who you might be. something that I contemplate on a regular basis. So what is it we have to let go of as a community to welcome a spiritual leader? One of the things we have to let go of is our concept of Dr. Candace as a spiritual leader, huh? And sometimes that's hard to do because we're connected. We have a fondness. So when we release her, really release her, and welcome in the new energy, will always be a part of us, right? Always be a part of us. She will always be a part of my spiritual legacy, and hopefully through many, many more years of friendship and relationship. So we have to bring ourselves to our spiritual practice, each of us individually, so that the one mind that we're creating as a community welcomes that new spiritual leader with openness, with energy that flows together as one. Look what you guys do with music. Look what you do with the center. A facility that continues to grow and improve. Now you do Zoom services. You're on YouTube. You're online. You grow. And so instead of allowing ourselves to settle and to forget who we are, I want to join in consciousness for each of us to link with what we know about being sacred human, and that consciousness that is part of God. We are all part of. We are the sacred. And so if I bring my spiritual practice, and each of us together bring our spiritual practice, and the consciousness welcoming a new minister as we release the old, I say we can have a huge celebration as that individual comes in. I want to share with you another thought from Rumi. What you seek is seeking you. We have had extraordinary challenges with the pandemic and COVID, yet we've witnessed Spirit create and continue to create through Center for Spiritual Living in Ukiah. What I know to be true is that by linking our minds, by linking our hearts, by linking spirit, we'll continue to thrive and grow as we focus on what we want. It's like the glass is half full, and how do we fill it to the brim? So I would like to pause. The takeaway, remembering, is what? The title? Look only at what you want. Look only at what you want. So think about, for a moment, the energy, the emotions you want to describe that individual as spiritual leader. After our service, for those of you who can stay, I'd like to hear from you about those things. I wonder if each of you could offer one word right now, just one word, to describe what comes up for you when you think of a leader. Can you unmute your mic and offer one word? Calvin?
Compassion.
Who's next? Thank you. Gail?
Inspirational.
Thank you. Who else?
Connections.
Connections. Jack, you want to offer something? Oh, there, good.
Enthusiasm.
enthusiasm. Love that.
Joyousness mixed with educational opportunities.
Wonderful. Anyone else?
Okay, good.
I think so. Go back to Lynn.
So for me, what comes up for me is spiritually mature. You can hear me okay, right? Okay. Spiritually mature. Because if you have a spiritually mature person, they weather all the storms. Anything happens, where do they go? Spiritual practice. A spiritually mature person seeks God, seeks spirit in all things. You've had a spiritual leader. You've grown as a spiritual community. So let's hold all those different attributes that we talked about just now. If you want to talk a little further at the end of the service, we can do so. But I'm going to offer this prayer for us. So I invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes, taking another long, slow, deep breath in. I offer this prayer as we exhale together. Great Spirit, Holy One, that infinite love and infinite beauty, creator of all that is, we are one being. We are a community. We are individualized expressions of spirit. I am sacred human. We are sacred human. We are the Center for Spiritual Living, Ukiah. Focused to be the light. And what I recognize and know that this center has been a light and beacon to Ukiah for many, many years. And far beyond that, having a place in the international organization through the representation of the life energy of Candace, Reverend Candace. And we continue to hold that connection, even as she steps down and retires from formal pulpit ministry, gap ministry. We welcome the new spiritual leader that we can collaborate with and co-create with, that we link in consciousness, that we embody the teachings of the science of mind, that we embody love together. And wherever that person is in the world, we call to them now and welcome them, to feel them moving towards the Center for Spiritual Living, Ukiah, taking their place in consciousness now. They move through the steps of finalizing the contract and bringing them in, bringing them home. I give thanks for each one present today and for those who could not join us, but who join us in consciousness as part of this community. We are one. We relate to each other. We support each other energetically. We call in consciousness, remembering the attributes as we move through this day of a spiritual leader for this community and how this community relates one to each other. We give thanks for the leadership we have had and the contributions of volunteers that continue to serve, that give their life energy to a vision that produces hope in the world and awakens people to their spiritual magnificence. It is exciting to know that we can participate in creating good and health and wellness in the world for ourselves and for our community of Ukiah, across our great nation, across the one ocean, across our globe into the cosmos. We are eternal beings. Our energy is eternal. So we release this prayer, this treatment for health and wellness and good and prosperity, for spiritual leadership for the Center for Spiritual Living Ukiah. We're in confidence and peace. We continue the spiritual practices. We continue to love and support. We speak this prayer into being, knowing it is now so, and so it is. Amen.
So now is Mary. Having a little technical difficulty. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're good. Okay, so now is the time for our offering. So as always, I just want to thank all of you for being financial contributors to the center. It's a well-known fact that money is love in action. And so being able to know that we're putting our love where we want our action to be is really important. So I just want to thank you for helping us sustain this ministry and continue to sustain it as it moves forward. So we'll put the offering affirmation up so everybody can see it. Mary? Oh, she forgot to open it. Here we go. If for those of you who know it, just say it along, because some of you might already know it. Here I go. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies this gift. With all my heart and with all my mind, I know that I am saying yes to something I value. With all others present here, we dedicate these gifts to the value and vision we share. So it is. So thank you. Okay, so we have a few announcements. So I understand that there's a meeting today. What time is that meeting supposed to be? Somebody?
After church.
Huh? Oh, it's right after church. Because a couple of you, well, Victoria's here now, but because a couple of you were online, I was just kind of...
We were just going to do an in-church meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. So there's a meeting as soon as we're finished here. So don't go away. And those of you who want to remain on Zoom, please do. Everybody in the room will be in the room, okay? Because I know that, at least what Mary told me, part of what you're going to be looking at is service ministry and how that's going to look and how that's going to change in the next couple of weeks. So it's important that your feedback. I loved what Lynn said. In fact, I had to write it down, but I left it over there, about that we're creating this third unique mind as a group. And so it's kind of like when you do that, there might be that ability to integrate all of what you think and what the other people in the room think is important. But if you're not here and you're not saying so, then we're going to miss out on that. So please be here, but also don't be too attached. It might be that some of the things will work right now and some of them might have to get put off, but we're here to create something wonderful. I noticed I did get the list of everything that you guys talked about last week and went through it, and I was like, well, this looks good. And there was this full service. Do you want a full? Is that right? Full service? Yeah. And I just want to remind you, you have a full service right now, but right now is also a good time to be considering what might look a little different. And I might talk to you a little bit about that before I take off too. But of course, Gail's going to be really interested in service ministry things and what you're willing to sign up for and things like that. So, and I know that she is intending on being in the room, but she was over there a minute ago. So anyway, so hang out for a little bit. Also, again, we are still supporting Building Bridges if you want to take. There's a big list of paper towels and all that kind of stuff. And you can take it yourself. You can drop it off at Teresa's. She'll get it down there. But yeah, do it. Let's continue to do that. Right now, our financial tithe is going to the animal shelter. That was a decision a couple months ago, and so that's where that will be going until you guys decide to do it someplace else. Okay, and next week, I'm going to be the speaker. It'll be my last official speaker. I mean, I might come back as a guest speaker occasionally if Mary needs somebody. I told her, you can book me, but yeah, I won't be here on a regular basis after next week. So anyway, I guess that's it, except, what? I know, I've got it. That's all for announcements. And Larry?
I discussed it with Gary, asked something, and the hosting is going to be put on hold for a while.
Yes, we know that. Yes, thank you. So he's just saying that the hosting is on hold for a little while because we can't serve food or stuff like that right now. So, but we still want to look at that. It still is part of what we want to keep. Well, I think that's part of what you guys want to keep as part of how our services will continue to evolve as time goes on. So that still needs to be on the list. Okay, so now we're going to have our closing song from Calvin. So Calvin, take it away.
Thank you. This is a song that I wrote with, the words are from Reverend Shannon O'Hurley from Lake Oswego, Oregon, the CSL up there. It's called Release Chant. I bless you. I embrace you. I release you. Release you to love. I bless me. I embrace me. I release this to love. We bless them, we embrace them, we release them, release them to love.
Oh, that was beautiful. I'm going to have to let Shannon know. That was wonderful. So thank you so much, Calvin. Thank you, Harvey, for the amazing treatment. And a special thanks to Reverend Lynn Fritz for just being a delight to me and bringing such wisdom and such clarity to a moment. So thank you all for being a part of this. I love you all so much. Glad you were here. See you next week. Namaste.